let's get in there. So what will this NewCo's operations need to look like based on what you've defined, your proof of relevance and the value proposition, right? So definitely you need if the more experienced entrepreneur, the more experienced seed funding group you have in your tech transfer office, an experienced startup team is important. And the operations team, I think the important thing to remember, it will change over time. It should, as the needs of the companies change. And so you might start off with an interim CEO, the one that is going to be able to pull the early stages together. And even from CEO on down, the team can change and should change for the different needs of the company. Maybe depending on the company, the initial focus is more on the proof of concept and technology, prototyping, etc. Later on, it might be more about an effort on biz dev. And you might choose whether you're hiring initially as consultants or bringing in a full-fledged team as employees. So your operation team, having experience there is important, but also knowing that that'll have to change as you go down your product development roadmap. Academicians work with the startup companies they found first as a founder, but they actually work and interact with the company more on the scientific advisory board. There are very rare examples where we have an academician who actually leaves the institution to actually go join the company as a full-time employee or run it. And we do have a couple examples, but that means you're leaving your academic career. And so actually I want to say a little more, because for most of the academics, it's the scientific advisory board. A good company does want a robust scientific advisory board that includes the original founder and the inventor, but also has other complementary subject matter experts that can be objective and well-rounded for what the company needs. And that will change as the company goes more from a science company to a very product development company. So your role on the scientific advisory board over time may lessen, right? And one other thing, that's, whether you choose to leave or not, there are good reasons people don't. It's a different skill set. It's not the career path. But for some, they do. It's something that they're young enough. They did it. They were MDs for a little bit and chose to really want to drive their passion for whatever solution they found, their technology, go with it. But it's and you can join the company, depending on the company, the investors, as a CSO, et cetera, differently. But this is where, even on the scientific advisory board, that's the most common way, partly also because of one other thing that triggers in here, and it's slightly different for each institution, is the conflict of interest, right? So if you're going to typically, if you're a founder on the SAB for a startup, you take equity in the company. And so that triggers some conflict of interest in what kind of roles you can play. So at Partners Healthcare, you cannot have fiduciary responsibility and cannot be in a company, and that's why you can't do both. You can't be an academician and take on a role in a company that is like a CSO or a CEO.
Oh, so you would actually have to.
So you always want to think about, you're raising the capital from VCs, you have a product development roadmap, so what would be the most efficient use of that capital you're going to raise? And the two big questions there is, for your product development roadmap for the NewCo that you're creating, the big question is it going to be a virtual company or a bricks and mortar company? And when we say a virtual company, you'll still hire a few people, but it'll be a handful of people. The space that you rent and that you need will be more like office space, versus a bricks and mortar company. That would be many people, probably scientists, probably wet lab space. So the enterprise looks very different, whether you're going to do a virtual company or bricks and mortar. And that really comes to, what are you trying to get to in your product development roadmap and efficient use of your capital. Ways to think about efficient use of your capital is also think how you could leverage collaborations with, let's say, CROs and other for-profit entities that might work with you in contingency basis, might share the risk with you now and do discounted rate work with you for an upside later on. So that's efficient use of capital based on how much you raise and where you need to get to in your development inflection points. And from our system, we have examples of both companies that have successfully gone down their product development roadmap as a virtual company, and you would say Sparrow fits in that bucket, the workshop we're going to do today. And there's some bricks and mortar company that Rez and I have been involved with, like Editas and Rana Therapeutics, which are big platform companies, therapeutic companies, driving from early stage platform to products. Right? So it just depends on the technology and on the NewCo and what your roadmap looks like and what capital you need to raise.